You mentioned about uh, uh, one of the members of your group, their relative was in the Second World War. And it's crazy to think that we're going to be the last, I guess you want to say the last adults, really, the young adults in the United States. And yes, I know you're probably going, oh, don't say young adult. I mean, people that had direct contact with World War II veterans after us, like the next generation. For example, I'm pretty young. I'm Generation Z, but the next generation after me, Generation Alpha, they're not going to have that connection. They're not going to be able to say, like, oh, I knew a World War II veteran, or I met one. My local historical society, one of the key board members is a veteran of the Second World War, is still active with our historical society. He is not very fond of, not as he doesn't like talking about his time in the service, but he very plays it low tier. Like he went on a tour of Belgium just last year, and they visited the Bastogne Museum. And they weren't originally going to visit because they were going to be there like an hour after the museum closed. But the moment they realized that he was a Second World War veteran, they kept that thing open for like 3 hours after closing time just so he can come and see. And he signed apparently this large sign of Bastogne that all veterans that have come to the museum to sign, they insist on sign it. And the thing was, he felt really awkward doing it because he served in the Pacific theater. He didn't serve in the European theater. He's like, I didn't do any of this. I was serving on a minesweeper out in the Pacific. They treat him as a hero regardless. It was crazy. So, but after this is over, all these connections are going to go away. And it's a little bit scary on where we're going to be because we were so used to for so many years the Second World War. Everybody just understood it to a certain degree. Everybody just understood the severity of it. They understood the significance of it. But once that generation's removed, what's going to happen? It's very scary thought. What's going to happen once all the people who survived that are going to be gone?
Sure. I mean, it's you got to look at it. These guys are in their 90s. Mr. Jones, for instance, is 101 years old. He was a first lieutenant. I know no other World War II veterans alive who was a first lieutenant. And not only that, I mean, his stories are are not a normal World War II veteran in the stories they would have. You know, he come in at the tail end of the Battle of the Bulge, and he was one of the men who actually, when everyone hears about the treasures that Hitler stole during World War II, they've seen the movie Monuments Men. Well, what they don't realize, the Monuments Men were real. This isn't a fictional story. Well, his connection that will be lost if his story isn't preserved is a very crucial one to World War II because he was tasked with a secret operation of standing guard at a castle just outside of Luxembourg, Germany, as the Monuments Men were uncovering the treasures inside of this castle. So he was tasked with actually standing the guard and not letting anybody in. He said he couldn't let anybody in, couldn't let anybody out. And he actually saw the diamond as it come out. He saw the paintings. He knew the Monuments Men. He worked hand in hand with them. And there's not another veteran alive who did that. He's the last. And as these veterans like him perish, their stories die with them if they're not preserved and their memories are forgotten. And you're right, it is extremely scary because, I mean, when you think about it, and I have been trying to emphasize this time and time again, at 5 years' time, there will be no more World War II veterans
No.
left. And places like Omaha Beach, places like the Ardennes, places like, the Philippines and Iwo Jima, the stories that are there are going to remain there if they're not protected. And, fortunately, there is a big, push from different people like the author of the book, The Rifle, JD's from History Underground has been doing some stuff with him. Extraordinary veteran himself, combat veteran, who's now taking this journey to help preserve those stories of World War II combat veterans. And then you have, different organizations. Gary Sinise's organization that's doing big things to help protect these legacies. But, is that going to be enough? And it really is scary.